If we talk about the hidden history of South Africa, this is part of it behind me. I come from the premise that history is an important tool in the development of positive identities. China today is where it is because they used history as the solid foundation of development. If you want to be able to know who you are and to be able to know your future, it's very important that you know your history. But if you don't know your history, chances are you are not going to be sure of who you are. You are not going to understand your identity. You're not going to be certain about your future. In some of my writings, I often argue that excellent education is not enough if we do not teach our children the essence of who they are. Today, we are a generation that is confused, that is restless, because it doesn't know its history. Behind me is the Collingham Tower that was built in 1843 by the British colonial establishment. Why was it tower? Why was it built? And why is this tower important? This tower was part of the fortification process done by the British at the time in order to protect this beautiful occupied territory at the time. What happened upon the establishment of Grahamstown in 1812? Amaxhosa resorted to relentless onslaught, attacking the occupied territory, saying to them, "You are not going to occupy this land. We are going to fight you tooth and nail." And then they built this monument, this beautiful, strong, well-fortified tower, which is still standing even today since 1843. You can see this tower if you go on that other side. There's no door here. If you have to get inside this tower, you must climb through those two stones. You can see how strong this tower was. If you look at this side of this tower here, when I was trying to climb here, so imagine if the British soldiers are inside waiting for you. You go there, you climb. By the time your head shows up, they'll decapitate you. So this was a highly strategic, well-placed tower with no doors. You can see that it's a military establishment. It's still intact. Look at how thick the walls are. Very strong. So let me come back again to my point. Why am I here? Why am I showcasing this tower? This tower was built in order to protect the British settlers who were based in this area that used to be called the Zoeveld, between the Fish River and the Gamdus River. You may recall that prior to the War of 1811, this land was occupied by Amagqonukhwebe of Prince Tungwa, Amambalu of Nkosulanga, and Amandlambe of Nkosundlambe. All these three groups are Amaxhosa who stayed here in this beautiful land as far as the Gamdus River. They fought the British, sorry, not the British settlers, they fought the Dutch settlers here from 1779, the first war. Second one, 1789, here. The third one, 1799 to 1803. The Dutch settlers failed to dislodge Amaxhosa here over those three wars. The turning point occurred in 1811 when the British entered the scene. Remember, they had a well-trained army that has fought wars in Europe. They had the firepower of the British artillery. So in 1811 to 1812, when the British faced Amaxhosa for the first time, during that war, Unkosi Uthungwa of Amagqonukhwebe died in the battlefield. and was buried in Alexandria. On the side of the British, Henry Stockenstrom was killed in the Zubek Mountain by the nation of Imidange during that war. The only thing that actually broke the backbone of resistance from Amaxhosa, who were ultimately pushed from this area, was the fact that when the British started killing women and children, Amaxhosa regarded women and children as sacrosanct. Those are the people whose lives are not touched in wars. Even in the subsequent wars, Amaxhosa fought the British around Alice, Hume, Hawksbeck. Amaxhosa never touched the women and children of the European settlers because they believed that those people are not touched. So the interesting thing in 1811, the British Army, which was led by Colonel Graham, claimed that they were cleaning this place, removing the savages. But the very same people who were called savages are the ones who had a higher form of civilization, whose belief was that women and children are not touched in the times of war. So Amaxhosa was shattered when Colonel Graham's army started butchering women and children. And they retreated from this area because it was a shock to them. They regarded such an act as alien because they were not familiar with that. Then subsequently, the Amaxhosa decided to resort into guerrilla warfare, where they launched relentless attacks, which resulted into the establishment of these towers. So this tower, you can see it functioned both as a tower, a signal tower to sense the enemy from a distance. Secondly, it functioned as a fortified area to protect the soldiers in terms of attack. Hence, there is no door here. In addition to this tower, the British were forced to build about 44 military forts in this area. They built 62 military posts. You don't get such highest concentration of forts and military posts anywhere else in the world, except here, in this triangle between Gqeberha, that used to be called Port Elizabeth, Graaf Reinet, and Butterworth. So the fact that they were forced to build structures like this one that we're seeing, 44 of them, and 62 military posts, it tells you the intensity of the war between Amaxhosa and the British settlers. So this is part of what we call the forgotten history of South Africa. This is part of the hidden history that you don't get this history in the books. You don't get this history anywhere else written in an official form. So we are here on this journey of the 100 years in our efforts to unpack and to unearth the mysteries of this hidden history, the hidden forgotten history of South Africa. And what then led to the final conquest of Amaxhosa was the introduction of the cattle lung sickness, which occurred after the arrival of Sir George Grey in 1854, which decimated about 90% of Amaxhosa. So in my argument, I argue that it was the biological weapon of cattle destruction which broke the backbone of resistance of Amaxhosa. The fact that during the entire 3 centuries of British colonialism, it was only in this part of the world where structures like this were built, 44 of them, and 62 military posts. And the fact that they had to resort to a biological weapon of cattle destruction, it tells you about the intensity of this history. And therefore, it's very important as South Africans that we begin to understand this history. And there is no way we can become patriotic citizens with a sober understanding of our future if we keep on ignoring our history. It's very important that we understand our history. We know where we come from because it's part of our identity. It's part of our culture. It's part of our future. I thank you. This is John Giklas, the author of Triangle of 100 Years Wars, accompanied by uGqwashu, umncedisi Mehlulo, who's taking this video. Siyabulela Gqwashu. Behind me, nguJwaha pha, uJothela uMtiko, uMazaleni, uMbelu, uMayaga. Abantu abahle noxa bephethe izikhali. Thank you so much, my fellow countrymen.